Hi everyone, it's Dr. Amina Aitsi-Selmi for another episode of Wise Wednesdays. And it's nearly 2 years since the first Wise Wednesdays was launched, so look out for a little announcement in the coming couple of weeks. And today we are talking about how to stop putting yourself down. There's no need for it, even though the very same voice that's putting you down is telling you that no, you really need it to put you down. Otherwise, you wouldn't get anything done. Such a lie. Okay, so what I'm talking about is the inner critic or the superego. It may go by different names, but essentially it's the voice that is very critical and harsh. And you may be so used to it, you don't even notice that it's critical and harsh. However, if you're starting to wake up to it and its negative effects and want to address it, then imagine what it's like speaking that way to someone you care about. If you cringe or feel guilt or shame or feel angry, then it's a good sign that that voice is your inner critic or your superego, and that it's being harsh with you. So that's a little tip if you want to test, is this the voice of reason and wisdom speaking to me, or is this my harsh inner critic? So imagine speaking with that voice to someone you care about and see how you feel. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is because a lot of people I work with and a lot of people I know and myself and probably every human being on earth has got, if not the capacity, has got this voice. And this inner critic or superego is there to try and protect you, is there for socialization, is there to help you self-regulate and navigate your own personal desires, or rather the edge between your personal desires and what your group, your community, your social system expects of you to be part of it. And so it really is there for a positive reason, right? It's there to help you survive and thrive in some way. Its primary purpose is survival, though, not thriving. So it's there for a positive reason, but it's just clumsy and ignorant of the full range of possibilities available to you. So it has a good intention, but the way it talks to you is not the best. So what can you do about it if you're being conscious of this and you want to try and grow out or try and make peace, let's say, with the inner critic, so that it does it's reassigned to a good role, to a positive role in you, and isn't stopping you from taking action. It's not stopping you from going for your dreams. It's not stopping you from reaching out to people that you want to connect with. It's not stopping you from being happy. So I want to come back to learning theory for a second, because it's important to know that scientific evidence now supports the fact that you don't need to humiliate people to teach them. Positive reinforcement over time is what's most effective. And this brings us to 3 principles for learning and behavior change. If you want to change yourself, because you realize that by changing yourself, then you'll be able to change your life in a way that makes you happy or more fulfilled, then these principles will help you do that. And it's a bit like going to the school of life. It's not as clear-cut as learning, let's say, maths or learning a skill like dancing, where there are specific skills and techniques that you can pick up and that makes you a singer, for example. Life is a bit more expansive. And so it's difficult sometimes to see what that learning track is. But it is possible, and that is obviously, well, not obviously, but that is what coaching is about. It's helping you apply insights in a way that makes you more skillful at living and living a fulfilled life, not just a survival life. But anyway, I think I'm digressing a little. So coming back to 3 principles that help you essentially learn to live in a way that makes you more fulfilled. Based on this idea of transformation, that to transform something external, you need to transform something internal. So how can you learn this? So if you need to learn how to be new behaviors, then number 1, exercise, physical activity. And there are so many benefits to physical activity, many of which you know, but maybe one you don't realize as much is that it does give you psychological resilience. So for example, if you're running a marathon, you have to, or if you're running in general, more than a sprint, you have to break through what's called the wall of pain. And it's that signal that your body is sending you saying, right, you have to stop, otherwise we're going to die. But knowing on a deeper level, that's just the superficial survival mechanism or protection mechanism. It's your inner critic kind of kicking off saying there's something wrong, you need to stop. But then going deeper and knowing that these pain or discomfort signals your body's sending you as you run aren't a sign of death. They're a sign of growth. And so exercise can really help you learn to be with discomfort, learn to be with signals coming from your body, from your psyche, and saying, uh-oh, there's danger, you need to stop doing what you're doing, you need to stop getting out of your comfort zone, you need to stop taking risks, you need to stop being vulnerable, and just come back to where you were. So you're learning to be with those signals without believing them, and going deeper into your wisdom to know what the truth is. And if you're running, the truth is that you're not going to die after running for a while and feeling a bit uncomfortable. It's likely that you're just shaking off a bit of inertia, and your muscles are starting to tear a little to reform and be stronger, and your physiology is being tested so that you can expand your capacity over time with repetition. Okay, so number 1 principle for learning to live life in a more fulfilled way and change your behaviors. So physical exercise. Number 2. Number 2 is to do with how we learn. So number 2 is really captured in the sentence, balance consuming with producing or generating. And if anything, most of us need to consume less, which is hard because our economy is built on consuming. And all our digital environment is based on bombarding us with information that it calls for our attention to consume the information. So it's quite challenging, but hopefully if you're exercising, you're learning to be with discomfort, and you can see that you can skip that dopamine kick you'd get from getting a like on Facebook and actually focus on what you're trying to do. So number 2 is balancing consuming with producing. So consume less and produce more. In terms of learning, what does that mean? It means you're not just reading stuff. You're not just listening to podcasts. You're not just, I guess those would be the 2 main modes that we're used to, and that are kind of traditional in learning as well. It's you're taking in information, and instead of doing that, it's producing or generating information. And that doesn't need to be completely new information. It doesn't mean you read a book on physics and suddenly you can get a Nobel Prize winning idea, but you can read a book and you can recall the information in your own words. You can explain it to someone else. Or you can put it into practice. You can translate what that means in practice and try it out for a week. So I don't think I'll go into an example here because I think it's obvious, but the idea is that consume less information and generate more. Actually, an example might be, start writing about your ideas. As you read and listen, incorporate those ideas into your work. And if it involves writing, that's great. Incorporate those in writing. Or, classic suggestion today in this day and age is start writing a blog. So produce ideas as a result of what you've consumed, but stop just consuming. Which brings us to number 3, principle for changing your life, for learning to do. Three lessons at the school of life, let's call it. So number 3 is slowing down. So slowing down is important because especially if you're a high-functioning, highly intellectual person, you can consume a lot of information very quickly and assimilate it and conceptualize it and maybe bring different bits of information together and make them into a nice concept. But it's all very conceptual and abstract. And they found this at Harvard, I think, that if they took these high-functioning individuals and slowed them down, although they were frustrated to start with because they felt they were being slowed down and they're just used to consuming information very quickly, over the long term, their recall and learning indicators were better because they were able to integrate the knowledge much better and incorporate it into their long-term memory much better. And how do you do that? You do it through number 2, which is the generating information, not just consuming it. So generating information as in recalling the information, but also applying it. And learning theory, it's called distributed practice and retrieval practice, I think. Sorry, retrieval practice and distributed practice. So retrieval practice is when you retrieve the information. Distributed practice is when you recall it or retrieve it a little bit at a time over a period of time. Let's say immediately after you learn the information, a week after you learn the information, a month after you learn the information. And all this, by the way, I was inspired to do this video after a lecture by a lecturer at Cambridge University at the Faculty of Education, Michelle Ellefson. So this is based on the review of scientific evidence that she presented. This is not me making it up. But I completely agree with it because I've seen it in myself and in practice. 24 years of education, I've had time to learn how to learn. So those are the 3 tips for learning in a way that doesn't rely on your inner critic. You don't need your inner critic to learn new ideas and to apply them, but it will help you to exercise so you can break through discomforts. So you can break through the barrier that comes up when you're getting out of your comfort zone. You can improve the way you learn. Number 2 by balancing consuming with producing information, and which is linked to 3, slowing down. So taking your time to take in the information, recall it, share it, put it into practice before you start learning more stuff. All right, well, that is it for today. I think that's all I have to say. Have a fantastic week, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.